Hello, and welcome back to part 2 of our review on the basic skills necessary for Adobe InDesign. My name is Ryon, and if you haven't watched part 1 of my two-part series, please take 5 minutes to review the workspace and necessary tools to complete the project we will cover today. If you have watched part 1 and can't seem to remember anything we have covered, do not worry. You can go back at any time to review the basic skills, or you can just follow along with this video and I will share all of the necessary steps to complete our brochure project. The first thing we are going to do is to open a new document. Unlike in our last video, this time we are going to change the dimensions of our page to fit this project. Let's call this document Brochure Template. Let's change our units to inches, then we'll adjust the width to 11.25 inches and our length to 8.75 inches. Ensure that your document is in landscape orientation, and let's keep our project to just one page and 3 columns. You can change this number of pages later if necessary. Lastly, open the margin options at the bottom. Change the top to 0.125, then proceed to clicking the link button on the right-hand side. This will automatically change all of the other margins to the same degree. Before creating your document, ensure that all of the necessary changes have been made. Naming the document, width and length, number of pages, number of columns, and margin. If you have completed all of these necessary changes, then proceed to creating your new document. The blank document in front of you may seem daunting, but our next steps will make it seem a little less so. If you look up at the menu bars at the top of the page, find Layout. Under this menu, you will see an option called Create Guidelines. This will allow us to create non-printed even rows or columns to space out the features we insert on the document. For our project, we will be creating 12 rows that we want to fit between the margins of the page. Once you have done this, click OK. Now you can see that we have 12 evenly spaced rows on our document. These will not show up on the finished project, but act as a guide for us to place the text and image features we are going to add to the document. The first feature we're going to add is the organization's logo. I will be using the Nashville Civic Design Center's logo for the sake of this tutorial, but if you have a different one on hand, please feel free to follow the same steps to insert the image of your choosing. The first step is to insert a rectangular frame box, which is a tool we featured in the first video. We will use this as a guide to inserting our logo. Drag the tool from the top left-hand corner of the far right column down 4 rows and release. Remember, if you want to select the rectangular frame box, you must use the selection tool or else you will continue creating framed boxes. Our next step is going to add a picture to our frame box. If you do not already have a picture readily available to insert, please take a moment and do so now. Once you have a photo you would like to use the selection tool to click on your frame box. Find the File menu and select the Place option. From here, it'll ask you to select a photo from your computer's hard drive. Once you have a selected photo, it will insert into your framed box. If it is not spaced properly, right-click on the picture and select Fitting from the menu options. From here, click the first option to Fit Frame Proportionally, or the second, Fit Content Proportionally, to size your image accordingly. Next, we will use the text box tool to create our title or subtitle for the brochure. Repeat the same steps above, but this time use the text tool and only drag it down 1 row. Use the guidelines we entered to evenly space out these features to keep a clean and crisp look to your project. In this box, proceed to entering the title of your choosing for your brochure. I'm going to write Meet Our NCDC Interns and Fellows. To change the size and style of your text, highlight the characters and use the control panel at the top of the page to size your text. I'm going to size mine to 12-point font and center it on the page. You can also change the font on the left-hand side using the control panel. Let's do that now. The last step to creating this brochure is adding the, in my case, intern and fellow names and pictures. We're going to repeat the 2 steps we just followed to do so. Create a circular frame box on the left-hand side of the column. If you remember in our first video, the frame tool has an ellipses option if you hold down the frame tool icon. To get a circle, hold down the Shift button as you drag your ellipse. Use the guidelines on the page to guide the creation of an even circle within the row. Then use the Text tool to create a text box on its right-hand side. Insert your text at this time, if you have it readily available. Our next step, which we didn't cover in our last video but adds a more professional look to your document, is outlining the framed box and text box with a border. Hit the Selection tool and highlight one of these features. Move up to your control panel, and where it says 0 point, choose 2 point instead from the drop-down menu. You will repeat this with the other features on your page. You have finally completed and learned all the necessary steps for completing this brochure. When you are ready to insert images into the circular frame box, repeat the process from above when we filled in the image logo. If you're in a hurry, you can highlight and copy and paste these features to repeat for the rest of the page, or you can do it individually if you have more time. Highlight one feature using the Selection tool, hold down the Shift key, then highlight the other. Use the copy and paste function to drag it to the spot of your choosing on the page. Then repeat this process until you have finished filling out the entire brochure page. If all goes well, you should end up with something similar to this. It is not going to look exactly the same, but it's an example of what you could create for an employer if they're looking to highlight past, current, and future interns within the workplace. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial and learned a little more about how you can use InDesign for more than creating a flyer. Thank you.